Happy Friday and happy Fridays with Fidelman. I'm Cheryl Fidelman, the Conscious Codependence Coach. I'm psyched to be back here in your inbox with another Fridays with Fidelman. Just a reminder that our free and monthly group class is on this coming Wednesday, and it will be based on what I talk about today in this video, which is codependence and gaslighting. So I'm going to talk about codependence and actually how gaslighting, I think, is sometimes an illusion, that it's actually not real, which challenges the concept of gaslighting in and of itself, because we say that gaslighting puts us in illusion. We can't tell what's real because we're being gaslighted. And I'm adding to that and saying that we're being gaslighted is possibly an illusion, especially when we're in a codependent moment. So this may sound a little challenging or radical, but I think that this is one of the foundational theories of my work. So I want to get it out there, highlight it, and really talk about it. And we'll talk about it even more in the free and monthly group class on Wednesday. Couple of other announcements as well that I'll make towards the end of the video. And all right, here we go. So when it comes to gaslighting, oftentimes what we mean by gaslighting is we feel a certain way and somebody goes, you shouldn't feel that way, or you don't feel that way, or I didn't do anything to make you feel that way. So there's some angle somebody is taking that is denying your experience, denying the validity, denying maybe how you're putting things together and coming up to a conclusion. And so then we feel gaslit. And for some of us codependents, it's sometimes easy to gaslight us, because if somebody denies our experience, we on some level are willing to deny our own experience, to gaslight ourselves, to go, okay, well, if you say that that's not real, and if you say I shouldn't feel that way and I shouldn't think that way, then I won't feel that way and I won't think that way. So they gaslight us, we gaslight ourselves, bam, the gaslighting transaction is complete, right? Well, here's the thing with codependence is where I'm adding a layer of illusion to the gaslighting, meaning if I say in my codependent moment, you made me feel this way, you're bossing me around, you're not validating me, you're rejecting me, right, something like that. It's easy for somebody to go, no, I'm not doing that to you. Because in our codependent moments, we are interpreting that somebody else is doing something to us. And so when we say, you're rejecting me, and they go, no, I'm not, well, we feel gaslit. And what I'm saying in this particular moment is it might not be true that you're being gaslit. For those of us in our conscious codependence recovery, it's up to us to develop the skill set to be able to tell, is somebody else rejecting me, or is this my interpretation of what's happening? Is somebody else rejecting me, or do I feel rejected? And just because I feel rejected doesn't mean somebody's rejecting me. So we oftentimes, there's a dog coming. There were some outside kids and dogs there for a second. So it's up to us as codependents to be able to tell, is this my experience, my interpretation, or is this what's actually happening? It's a common codependent habit to feel something and think somebody else is doing it to us. And as we move through our conscious codependence recovery, we develop the skill set to get to know what is going on inside our body. And so I think that I'm going to go so far as to say that it's our responsibility in our conscious codependence recovery to look within ourselves in our TSC practice. That's the basic foundational practice of my conscious codependence work, which is the thought, sensation, emotion practice, where we go, I'm noticing my thoughts, I'm noticing my sensations, I'm noticing my emotions, I'm noticing my interpretations, I'm noticing my projections. And as I notice all of that, I can lean into trusting myself. I trust myself that my interpretation is accurate, that this person is coming from some sort of a rejection point of view. This person is coming from some sort of abandonment point of view. Or I trust myself to go, you know what, that person just sounded really intense. I had an intense feeling in my body, and I interpreted that feeling in my body like they were rejecting me. But as I go along in this practice, I realize they might not have been rejecting me, but I was feeling rejected. And that's the most important piece in our conscious codependence recovery. And that's the most important piece, regardless, I think, of whatever healing path you're on, is to be able to tell the difference between what somebody is doing to you, what someone's doing, what their intention is, and what it is that you're feeling and interpreting. This used to happen to me all the time, constantly, earlier on in my codependence recovery in my relationships, when I was constantly pointing the finger, at boyfriends or family members, or, talking behind my boss's back. He's doing this to me. He's being mean to me, or telling one of my boyfriends, you should think differently. You shouldn't talk to me that way. You should talk to me in a different tone. You're being mean to me, and he was always like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Right. And I constantly felt gaslit. I felt gaslit because I was so focused on that he needed to change and do something differently in order for me to feel a different way. I was so sure, and felt so right about what it is that he was doing to me, and that he was blind to what he was doing to me. But I knew better about what he was doing and what his intention was than he did. That was the illusion that I was in. I thought I knew more about what was going on in his world, but actually I was completely locked out of what was going on in my world. So I think that as we move along in our conscious codependence recovery, we can be more in integrity when we use the word gaslighting. When we say, you're gaslighting me, that we have gotten to the point where we're so sure that my interpretation is so accurate that when you tell me that I shouldn't feel what I'm feeling, that what I'm feeling is wrong, I'm actually clear that I'm having an accurate emotional response to the stimulus. And most importantly, when we feel gaslit, it's another way of pointing outside of ourselves for the reason why we're feeling the way we're feeling. You're gaslighting me, right? So I'm pointing to you, I'm pointing to what you're doing. And as we move further along in our conscious codependence recovery, the idea is not to say you are gaslighting me. The idea is to say, I feel gaslit. Or you're not understanding me. I feel misunderstood. So we are pointing more and more and more to ourselves and to our experience. And I just think that it's a little bit slippery with gaslighting, because it's really easy for us to go, you're gaslighting me, and point to the other person. And from the point of view of my work, we are practicing more and more and more, pointing to ourselves and our own experience. So in this work, I train people to be able to tell the difference between what's happening with other people and our nervous system's interpretation of what's happening. And once we get clear about our nervous system's interpretation of what's happening, which is when we get into full relationship with ourselves, that's the first step. And then we can reach out, if we so choose, to ask, are you shutting me down? Are you mad at me? What's happening with you? What's happening here? As opposed to sitting in what I call our codependent righteousness about what we think is happening with another person and what we think they're doing to us. So we're going to go over all of that, have a discussion about it, questions, shares, open coaching on Wednesday in our free and monthly class. We also have the Conscious Codependence 2-day group class. 2-day. So that's 2 days of group class happening in a couple of weeks, which I'll also announce on Wednesday. You'll get it in your inbox, which is super exciting. We'll get to have 2 days together in group class. Also the 6th Conscious Codependence series is coming up in a couple of weeks, just to let you know. 5 days of interviews. It's the Soul versus Trauma Conscious Codependence series, and the subtitle is Soul versus Trauma. So we'll be talking more and more about living from the point of view of our soul versus the point of view of our trauma. And that is ultimately my mission and purpose of my conscious codependence work, is to train those overachievers who either identify as codependent or have some codependent habits or behaviors, to train you to live from the point of view of being fully aligned with yourself. And the more aligned with yourself, the more intimate you are with yourself, the more aligned and intimate you can be with others, the more aligned and intimate you can be with your talents, gifts, and passions. All right, I'll see you either in class on Wednesday, see you around the Conscious Codependence community. Thank you for including my thoughts, theories, and rants into your week, into your Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy healing. And life is now.